On this second episode of Hard Pass, order is restored. No crazy comeback. The NBA Finals are tied 1 game apiece. SGA makes history, but what is going on with the court logos and advertisements? Who was better, the 2018 Warriors with Durant or the 86 Celtics? All that and much more straight ahead. I'm Doug Kezirian, and this is Hard Pass. The Oklahoma City Thunder finally get on the board in these NBA Finals, winning Game 2 in convincing fashion, led by double digits nearly the entire game by 6 after 1, double digits at halftime, near 20, that is, and then did not allow the improbable comeback and Tyrese Haliburton buzzer beater like they did in Game 1. So Thunder dominated. We expected this. It was a bounce back performance. In the betting world, there was a tax if you wanted to back OKC. So the spread in Game 1 was between 9 and 9.5 for a few days, and then it closed 10, I believe, at some places. This one was 11.5 at closing, so a little extra because the Thunder were figured to be the more desperate team, a must-win virtually. And Mike Breen even mentioned it on the broadcast in the second half, talking about desperation with the home team after losing Game 1. But I was a little uneasy because, the Pacers are pretty good and didn't even play that well in Game 1, although they did shoot well from distance. But I expected a better performance from Indiana, and they played pretty well through most of the first quarter, and OKC sort of flipped the switch in that second quarter when Haliburton went to the bench. And the turnovers, though, remember, for Game 1, there was a huge advantage in favor of OKC, 24-6. Okay, 19 turnovers forced in the first half. In Game 2, it was 15-13 edge. That's it. But three-point shooting was the difference. Pacers shot 46% from downtown in Game 1. In Game 2, 35%. And the Thunder had a better percentage. So that was the key there. And the loose balls and things like that. But the rebounding was pretty even. It was a huge advantage in Game 1. But OKC, not a dominating effort on the glass. And now they went small again, starting Cason Wallace instead of Hartenstein, but Pacers are known for being a bad rebounding team, and they had a huge edge in Game 1. We'll see if that proves to be a difference the rest of the series. I was thinking about, yes, the desperation. Remember, Indiana went up 2-0 in each of the past 2 series. Knicks, remember, they got the buzzer beater in Game 1 with Haliburton, the choke sign and everything. Game 2, they played great, wire to wire, really solid win. Against the Cavs, they had the solid win in Game 1, essentially wire to wire, but Game 2 was the step back from Haliburton. So I was a little nervous with the Thunder. I mean, given the tax of 11.5, but OKC really looked the part. So much lineup flexibility. Played Kendrick Williams more in this game. There was just a lot to like. SGA was just fantastic yet again. He's the Finals MVP if the Thunder do win this. But I was thinking, does the extra day of rest, or off, I should say, without travel, really affect the road team the second game? I mean, the Thunder were at home, so that's no big deal. But the Pacers kind of sitting around from Thursday night to Sunday night, that's strange. And, what are you going to do? Just in the hotel and all the time? Like, I wonder how draining that is, because they did look disoriented a little bit. They played well in the first half at times, but they did look disoriented at times. Like Haliburton had the lane or the half-court violation at the end of the first quarter or near the end. I mean, how does that happen? When he takes a step backwards, just some strange stuff. Even the Thunder guys like Chet Holmgren dribbling it out of bounds on the break, stuff like that. But I wonder if that sort of road dust, if you will, one of my high school coaches used to say that the road dust is kind of stench and stays on you for that second game with the extra day, just being without travel and stuff like that. I mentioned Haliburton. Strange game. He only had 3 points in the first half, and he has a knack in the postseason off a huge scoring game, not having the same type of performance in Game 2. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And, on the comments section here on YouTube, am I being too harsh? What do you make of Haliburton's drop-off? So he had the big Game 1, and the game winner with 0.3 seconds left, and then only has 3 points in the first half. Now, I know the Thunder structured their starting lineup to defend him and Nebhard, so you had Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, and SGA for switching purposes, and then Hartenstein he didn't start, so he wasn't getting switched on to him a lot, but they were getting Holmgren, but I thought Holmgren played well, moved his feet okay. But Game 1 against the Knicks, he had 31, including the choke thing, right? The next game, he only has 14, but it was a near triple-double and it was a team win, solid win, so maybe that's not so bad. Game 4 against the Knicks, he had a 32-point triple-double. The next game, 8 points on 2 of 7 shooting. So just strange that he doesn't follow up. Now, he's known for double-digit assist kind of thing, but still, they needed more from him. Now, he finished with 17, but the key is 3 in the first half, and they were down nearly 20 points. Am I making too much of that? Am I connecting too many dots here? Let me know. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. So we have an extra day between games because you have the travel, so we'll see Game 3 now. It's a 5-game series, right? Best of 5 remaining. Pacers have home court advantage as of now until maybe if and when OKC wins a game on the road. Time now for a heat check, as this is when we check on social media, what's going viral. There's some interesting stats here. Greg Harvey's stats perform 3,000 points, 600 assists, 150 steals, and 80 blocks combined in the regular season playoffs. SGA and Jordan. Those are the only 2 people to ever do it. And then how about this? Greg Harvey again. Only 2 players have ever scored 30-plus points in 9 straight home playoff games. Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Wilt Chamberlain. Anytime it's just you and Wilt, you're doing something right. Incredible scoring streak. Now, to have 9 playoff games straight in a home, you're going to have to advance in the playoffs, right? So very few people even get that opportunity and score 30-plus or, lean scorer like that. But to do it in 9 straight home playoff games, truly remarkable. SGA carrying OKC. The NBA tweeting this out, 72 points combined in his first 2 playoff or NBA Finals games, I should say. First 2 in his career. The previous high was 71 by Allen Iverson in the 2001 Finals. More on that in a moment. SGA now has the all-time record for the most points in his first 2 career NBA Finals games. And more on those 2001 Finals. Rob Perez, great NBA personality, has a huge following on X, really good dude as well. I've met him a few times, Worldwide Wob. It smells like the 2001 Finals in here. That's when the Lakers steamrolled the entire NBA postseason. The only loss was in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Iverson and the Sixers won in LA, but the Lakers had swept through the West. We're talking the Kings, the Spurs, Shaq and Kobe. Remember, Shaq was saying in the post-game press conferences, Kobe's the best player in the league, and no one was really ready for that just yet. Of course, that eventually happened. Well, I don't think these finals will be that way. I just don't. I understand what Wob is saying, Worldwide Wob, but I think the Pacers are going to get another game. I think this series heads back to Indy 2-2, or sorry, back to OKC 2-2. I think Indy gets at least 1 game at home, probably just 1. I shouldn't say at least. I think it's 2-2. I guess it could be Thunder 3-1, but I just don't see it. I think the Pacers are going to play much better than they did in Game 2 at one of those games at home. But I understand that the lopsided, the huge favorite, the finals, losing Game 1 at home, 0-1 finals, it smells like, according to Wob. The New York Knicks may have an announcement as early as Monday as their new head coach. Sometimes they wait to appease the league office and not want to steal spotlight away from the finals and over the weekend. But a really interesting story by Yahoo Sports senior reporter Vincent Goodwell on the Knicks on their exit interviews. And James Dolan leading the charge, most of those conversations with each player. And some guys complained about Tibbs playing the starters too many minutes. Heck, Mikal Bridges even complained about it to the media earlier in the season. So that I found that interesting. One player said he's not even sure he could play for Tibbs next season. A lot of players citing Tibbs' inability to adjust, an old dog, new tricks, if you will. Keep in mind, last year, Tibbs has an extension, and he has 3 years remaining for $30 million. You don't make this move unless there's some significant information. I think Dolan had heard enough in those exit interviews, and it's certainly remarkable. Now, the question is, who's going to be the replacement? Is Jason Kidd the best option right now? There's a report, Mark Stein, NBA reporter extraordinaire. He's over on Substack as well. He's an insider. He said the Knicks are expected to ask the Dallas Mavericks for permission to talk to Jason Kidd. Kidd under contract about a year ago. He signed an extension. So the Mavs would have to grant permission, and Stein also reporting it's unlikely to happen. So that's very interesting. Knicks also reportedly want to ask Houston for permission to talk to Ime Udoka. Rockets are expected to decline that. Now, Kidd's interesting. Now, let me know your thoughts. Is Jason Kidd the best option right now available for the Knicks? He has 9 years of coaching experience, only 52. Some of these players grew up, respecting Kidd and idolizing him, right? And he's the first head coach to put Brunson in the starting lineup. Brunson's your star player. He's going to have influence in the coaching hire. I wonder if he's sort of pushing for that. Remember, Kidd was the company man after the team traded Luka, right? The fallout, he was shocked. In the press conference, he said all the right things, even though his face might have showed otherwise. Decent poker player, apparently. But the Mavs do have the number 1 pick, likely Cooper Flag from Duke, right? Kyrie's not expected back until maybe January, torn ACL, right? Kidd's a solid option. He turned around that Mavs defense at the second half of the season after they acquired some guys in the trade and Gafford and built that front line. And keep in mind, this is a defense that has Kyrie and Luka, and they were like 3rd best defensive efficiency after the trade, adding those PJ Washington and then Gafford. So he can coach, and that's what the Knicks need is defense and to think outside the box, right? If Tibbs was sort of stuck in his ways, Kidd was able to adjust on the fly mid-season trade. Now, he does have some skeletons in the closet, if you will. He's had some issues in the past, rests and things like that. The team would have to get comfortable with that. Obviously, the league is okay with it, and that seems to be in the past, but it is part of history. But look, he's making good money in Texas, no state tax. He's got the number 1 pick. And the Knicks, I know the Knicks are the Knicks. If you win there, you're a god in that town. But there's a lot to be desired right now since landing the number 1 pick in Dallas. But maybe he's partial to New York. So that's something to keep in mind here. The marquee matchup is obviously Game 3 as the series shifts to Indiana. I think this series is coming back to Oklahoma City 2-2. I do think the Pacers are going to get one of these next 2 games. Now, they're 5-point home underdogs right now. If they lose, they'd probably be about 4-point home underdogs in Game 4, depending on how Game 3 goes, if it's a blowout or not. But conventional wisdom would suggest the Thunder are going to win Game 3. But be careful. I expect a much better performance from Indiana. And Carlisle is an elite coach. He's got 25 years of age on Mark Daigneault, and that's 25 years more of experience. I think Carlisle's elite coach, not even a great coach. He's elite. And I figure he's going to push the right buttons to get Haliburton to bounce back. Haliburton with just 3 points in the first half, that's unacceptable. If they were like in a close game or something like that, he was playing well, but they needed him. They needed him to score. And on the broadcast, Richard Jefferson was talking about he wants him looking at the rim. He wasn't getting to the paint. That's what the Thunder are so good defensively at controlling. SGA had that strip from behind as he drove to the paint. Doris Burke on the broadcast was mentioning you saw 5 Thunder players surrounding him as soon as he got near the free throw line paint area. He's got to find a way to get to the bucket and score. The team feeds off it, and when he's doing that, then he can look for points. And now he didn't score a lot in Game 1. He had the game winner with 0.3 seconds to go, but still, he's got to do more, and he knows that. He's an elite player. He'll bounce back, I think. I just don't know if it's enough because this Thunder team certainly seems to be the much better team. Defensively, they're outstanding, and they're making plays. I mean, to hold Indiana, basically it was like 94 points when they pulled the starters. So there's a lot to like in that. But I think this series comes back 2-2. I have no firm opinion. I think whoever loses Game 3, I'm going to probably bet on them in Game 4. I think this will be 2-2 after 4 games. Let's talk a little sports betting, and first pick of the show. Show history was a winner. We had Chet Holmgren under 8.5 rebounds. That, in fact, was a winner. It got a little hairy. He had some opportunities throughout the game, but he only finished with 6. I believe that's what he had in Game 1 as well. So I do want to give a little shout out to Michael St. John on X, who tweeted, Doug K on the money with Chet Holmgren under 8.5 boards. For picks and more, make sure you check out Doug's new show, Hard Pass. We appreciate that, Michael. And of course, you can always comment in the YouTube comments section. Want to generate that going? We have fans in the stands segment coming up in a little bit. We definitely want your feedback, hear from you. What bets did you like going into Game 2? What are your favorite bets for Game 3? That's more important. We got to make some money moving forward. Let us know your favorite plays for Game 3 here in the comment section. Get involved. It's a fun part of the conversation. I'll answer questions if you have anything you want to know, because I do want to explain a lot of the complex thoughts and rules and theories of betting throughout this segment. So that's one way to do it. For game 3, I'm going to go with Isaiah Hartenstein under 7.5 points. I was on his over rebounds. I'm going to go under 7.5 points. What do I mean? That means he scored. I need him to score 0 through 7. And so he had 3 points in game 2. That would have been an under as well. And 7.5 is just between 7 and 8 points. So you can't have a half point in basketball, obviously. So there's no ties, basically. So 7.5, I'm going to go under. Look, he's not starting. Mark Daigneault made the adjustment. He wanted more versatility on defense for Haliburton and Nebhard. So he started Cason Wallace, went small, hurts him on the rebounds, but he's willing to live with it. Now, he had 9 points in game 1, but a lot of that was fluky. You saw in game 2, he's running around, setting screens above the three-point line, a lot of handoffs, some dribble handoffs as well. He only shot twice for 3 points, and he had 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 22 minutes. So he's not playing a ton. I think 7, I would have made this number 5.5, maybe 5. So I'm under 7.5 points for Hartenstein in game 2, and we'll try to stay undefeated. We're undefeated in show history. Something that was certainly resonating on X and a bunch of social media platforms, and maybe in your own household watching it with friends, is what's going on with all the logos on the court and what's missing. So let's go back to game 1, because this started when the series started. Okay, game 1. Look, you see the OKC home court logo at midcourt, and then some advertisements around, right? But there's no NBA Finals logo, nothing, right? Remember in the past, we used to be a proper country with these huge logos. Look at this. Spurs and Pistons back in the day. Man, is that Nazi Mohammed? Yeah. Bruce Bowen. And then the Heat. I mean, some of these were, look at these trophies. The Larry O'Brien trophy, just monstrosities. Andrew Bynum and Dwight Howard. Look at this. And this was, Spurs and Cavs. This is a nice wide shot we have here. So that's what it used to be like. Well, everyone complaining, right? So Adam Silver in the league heard the grumblings and made a change for game 2 via CGI. Yeah, it's new technology. I'll help you. And they added it, but it looks computerized. It doesn't really look, and it's not the monstrosity over the logo of the team at midcourt. You have the little trophies on each side, right? One on the bottom left and the other one top right. There's a player there on the Thunder, but you could see it vaguely. Advertisers were everywhere, but I think the Larry O'Brien, it's almost doing more harm than good. But look at the advertisers. You got Emirates on the top left corner here. Then later, you got both Paycom and Castrol. These are all CGI, right? The reason I know this is because when there were replays at a different angle, you don't see anything in the background on the court. A little tough there, but anytime there was the camera on the floor, right? The camera guy on the floor, or behind the backboard, there's a camera that you can sort of see the tip-ins and things like that when they cut away. None of those logos are there. So it's all done with CGI and computerized. And then you got the NBA Finals logo. That's better presented by YouTube, right? There's the sponsor there. But you got the Paycom. So I think they didn't want the big giant trophy to take away from the paid logos, the paid advertisers. Look, I think it's really cool via CGI, right? The fans in the arena don't see it, so be it, but it's about the global viewing audience. And it's not really a distraction, right? I think it's a great revenue generator. Soccer does it with the score bug often during the World Cup because there's no commercials except for halftime in soccer. So you need to be able to, maybe the announcers say this next 10 minutes presented by whatever company, and maybe the play-by-play guy is going to do that. It's a new age of TV. I just think it's weird that you have those advertisers, but it's not really an eyesore. What is an eyesore is a league that was married to these NBA Cup. Remember those court designs? It was awful, hideous. Look at some of these courts that we were subjected to. And keep in mind, we're watching it on big screens. This is unbearable in a lot of ways. I had to put something else on my big screen because I have 5 TVs, a wall of 5 TVs, whenever the NBA Cup games are on. And I had to put something else on the big screen. I can only deal with these courts with the smaller TVs. This is hideous. So it's really weird that the NBA was so consumed with these, getting rid of the the trophy of the Larry O'Brien logos and all this other stuff, and even getting rid of it completely in game one. But they're also adamant about the horrendous court designs for the NBA Cup. So it's really strange. I don't know if I can quite grasp it all, but it is what it is. But it's certainly been resonating in these finals. Distant replay is when we turn back the clock on this day in sports history, NBA history, or some form of a necessary flashback. But this date, the same day as June 8th, game 2, so Sunday's date. 2018 and 1986 championships were won that year, and people think these are the two best teams of all time, at least definitely in the discussion. But 2018, that Golden State Warriors team that had Kevin Durant, they finished off a sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers on June 8th, and this team was loaded. You got the Splash Brothers. Obviously, Curry is in a world of his own, but Klay Thompson was pretty darn special before the injuries. And you had Kevin Durant, a former league MVP who was unguardable and one of the best pure scorers of all time. You also had Draymond Green at the peak of his defensive powers. They started JaVale McGee, but he did his role. And then they had Andre Iguodala, former finals MVP, who guarded LeBron coming off the bench. The three-pointer changed the NBA, and they obviously shot a bunch of them. That team only had 5 total playoff losses. They swept the finals, had 5 total, but they did go 7 games. So 3 of those losses came against the Houston Rockets. That was Harden. It was Chris Paul. I think that's the blemish, is that they needed 7 games. Now, I don't care what round it comes in, because that was really the NBA Finals. Whoever won that was going to win the title. And they were very close, they being Houston. But Golden State, obviously, too much firepower, and the Rockets had all those missed three-pointers, whatever it was, 19 straight or whatever. I understand that they're considered the best ever, and maybe they are. If you put them in time warp, odds makers say they'd be favored over other teams. It's just, when you do these, compare these eras, I have to assume teams from those eras would also learn and understand the analytics of the three-pointer. So, yes, if they just fell out of the sky and lined up and didn't have any sort of knowledge that the other team shoots a bunch of threes in the evolution again, fine. But I do think that Warriors team was super special and unguardable in so many ways. But 1986 Celtics, let's not sleep on them. They had a Hall of Fame front court, okay? Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish. They also had, in the front court, Dennis Johnson, who's a former finals MVP, and then the 5th starter was Danny Ainge. But then you also had Hall of Famer Bill Walton coming off the bench. He was 6th man of the year that year and could only play limited minutes because of all his feet issues, but he was brilliant, former MVP of the finals himself. This team was special because they were so versatile, incredibly high IQ, basketball IQ, and could just beat you in so many ways. They went 40-1 at home in the regular season, only lost 3 times in the playoffs. Twice came in the NBA Finals against the Rockets. Yes, they didn't go through the Lakers, but that's the Lakers' fault, by the way. They didn't beat the Rockets, they lost. And that Houston team was pretty good. It had Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon, the original Twin Towers. Look, both teams are incredible. It's hard to compare eras, but Larry Bird had won his 3rd straight MVP. This team was off the charts, unreal. They would have had a run in the 80s if not for the Lakers. So maybe they win 5, 6, 7 titles. That's why the Lakers-Celtics finals matchup was so intriguing at Boston, LA. That's where Beat LA originated, I believe. And then it was just a clash of style as well. And then the city that had the styles as well. So I think it was a fascinating matchup in that regard. So if you had these two, but I think it's kind of interesting that both of them won their titles on June 8th. So I wanted to do that for distant replay. Time now for Fans in the Stands. This is where we check out your comments on this YouTube channel and see what you've chimed in. I want to answer your questions. Now, we're a relatively new show. We had some comments in the trailer I posted, but not the actual episode. But we want to do this sort of mailbag type of segment. So please chime in and be part of that conversation. Now, I will respond to a tweet interaction that I had on X. I had once the Thunder announced that they're going to keep the same starting lineup that they had in Game 1. So that's Cason Wallace starting in place of Hartenstein. They go small. I was like, yep, they out-rebounded 56-39 in Game 1 by a poor rebounding team. Dags, Mark Daniel keeps Hartenstein out of the lineup again. Now, Michael Robinson said when Chet missed those free throws late in the game versus Denver, that was Game 1, by the way, cost his team the game. He came back the next game, played well. Hartenstein in that push shot doesn't do it for me. Chet spaces the floor better, and he can rebound and get blocks. I like the move. Chet spacing as a total weapon was my reply. I would just start both of them, the double bigs, right? So definitely let us know your thoughts about this whole move that Dagno did. Look, he's going to be evaluated by fans no matter what he does, but I thought it was the wrong move. It's 1-1. It's fine. They're probably going to win the series, but I would not have broken it. I would have had that, rebounding edge and not let them get so many second chance points. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts, please, on all this, whatever segment there is. Let us know your thoughts on the comments section, and I'll answer them on this very segment called Fans in the Stands. All right, so that's going to do it for this second episode of Hard Pass. Appreciate everyone checking it out. A lot of cool ideas and stuff we're going to have moving forward, not just sports focused or not just basketball focused. I'll be thinking outside the box. We'll also have guests. So a lot of cool things on the horizon, but obviously the focus right now is on the NBA Finals. Series is tied 1-1 as it heads to Indiana for games 3 and 4. It's 2-2-1-1-1 format, no longer the 2-3-2 format. So in the finals, we're still 2-2-1-1-1, and I think that helps, or it's less of a disadvantage for the road team. 3 in a row is really tough for your home game. So I like how they space it out now.